So I want to start with something that you said in the intro about the way that the sense of humor plays differently depending on where you're showing the film. First of all, how did they do? Did they laugh at the right times? Was it good? Was it good?
In different places, but I heard some laugh. But I was sitting there. I don't know about the acoustic, but no. It's not like I'm expecting the people to laugh their ass off during the whole film. I mean, it's also a film that it takes a little bit of time also to digest. I think that's what I would feel if I were you, seeing it for the first time. but of course it's for me it's kind of human comedy in many ways, which doesn't mean that I'm dealing with important matters and I'm questioning very serious stuff in the film, I think. But of course I think that when we start to observe human beings, I mean we oftenly and very rapidly gonna see flaws that are kind of funny in a way and comical. So it's human comedy in the sense that it's, I don't think I made a comedy, but it's definitely human comedy. This is and I place here and there, of course, not jokes but humor and I think that a guy like Paul who plays Albert, I think is extremely comical. He's extremely funny he's an actor. Like great comedians, sometimes they are also able to play drama in a fantastic way, and I think he has that kind of essence of being at both time like very comical and also like he can also be a bit tragic. Yes.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about gets at something that I really like about this movie, and that each time I watched it really stood out to me, which are these long dinner scenes. Basically, after the first one, the next time everyone's sitting down for a meal, I kind of sit up in my seat, like get ready to get a little anxious, get ready for something to go a little bit wrong. But I was so interested in that being just structurally, but also emotionally and behaviorally, like an anchor for these characters. I wondered if you could just talk to us a little bit about your approach to shooting those scenes, because the way the camera moves when we focus on things, when we're kind of pulling back and seeing everyone behave at once, these decisions, I think, the more that I see the film, really stand out to me. Like you're very much carving something socially and behaviorally into the film, but you're doing something different each time.
Yeah. Yes, I mean they're kind of the centerpiece of the film in that sense, and it's and also it was important for me to have all the characters in the same frame, because at the beginning, of course, I was like, okay, I'm going to shoot those scenes. As you can see, I'm not I don't really like to cut that much. I like I like long shots, and so then I was like. That's just a technical aspect of it, but it was just like, okay, now I have these dinner scenes. They're gonna be, if I don't cut, they're gonna be extremely long, and so maybe I should try to start editing and do some reverse shot, which I never do, and so I started with we had a lot of I wanted to have a lot of time to do those things, and then we shot them also at the end of the shooting. It was the last week. So we had 6 days to shoot the 3 dinner scenes, so it's 2 days per scene, and which is a good luxury. So everybody was in character, everything was placed, everything was, because the first days of shooting goes normally in the garbage bin. I mean, it's because there's something that is. So that's why I like to shoot many days, and I'm begging I'm forcing my producer to accept those long shooting days, and then at the end, it was like everybody knew who they were. It was rolling very well. We were isolated also when we shot the film, completely isolated in the woods, without electricity, without water. It was completely like such an adventure, but beautiful adventure, and there was no such cabin fever. Not for me, but I don't know.
No.
Yeah. But so
there was a bonding experience more than anything else.
Yeah. And then at the end, yes, the dinner scenes were kind of. Then I shot the first, because I chronologically shot them. So then the first dinner scene is the first one we shot, and then I was like, okay, I put the camera. Let's do a a long like not establishing shot. I would never use that word, but because I never do establishing shot. But it was just like a shot of where everybody and the character, and then it was like, okay, after the first take, I was like, this is working. So and so though we did the takes many times. I leave a lot of freedom also to my actors. If they want to stand up during the scene and go to the toilet and come back, they can do it. If it's in if they feel it's the proper thing, and they were masters into getting into that creativity also, because they were taking the script and they were like putting a sentence there, and like playing with the structure of the scene, and so it was great. And also the fact that all the actors are in the shot during the three different scenes. With the other one is shot a bit differently. The camera is moving and very smoothly, but everybody keeps it knows that they are in the frame, and that keeps the energy of everybody. Because if you do shot reverse shot, you always lose a bit the energy. And then I tried actually, and that was really not good, because it was late and everybody was like, okay, and we'll do it again. I tried, but it was like, okay, in the editing suite, it was clear that I need to just use the one shot, and. Yeah, so it's.
I want to pick up on something you said about the freedom that you were giving the actors, because Noah, I think one of the impressive things about just watching you in this film is, first of all, I think I'd forgotten how much of this film rests on your shoulders, and how much time that we spend just watching you behave. Do I agree with every choice that the character makes? It's a separate question, but I would love to hear more from you about really being the focal point of a film that has a lot going on, but it keeps coming back to you. And I think we are tuned to your emotions basically from the first time we see you in the car. I think I immediately noticed that you're sitting in the car, and I'm thinking, okay, someone's got a crush. This is not going to go well. Pretty much as soon as it starts.
Well, I mean, a bit like Philippe said, getting into that mind space and getting into that zone, I think, took about a week, and then it's kind of something that happens often on sets. But I really took it as a challenge for, sometimes it's easier to act when you have something to say than when you're reacting. And I took it upon me to do the best that I could. And I mean, the character is so well written, and so he goes through 1,000 emotions. And when I read the script for the first time, I was like, yeah, you know what, this seems like something I could do, or I could try to do anyways. And it's pretty much grâce à Philippe, well, because of Philippe, that of his writing and his way of describing these characters, that made them easier for me to play anyways, and understand the psychology behind Jeff, for sure.
And were you all improvising at all? I mean, how
Improvising?
Yes. Quite a bit.
Yeah. I would call it controlled improvisation sometimes, but it's just that, yes. I mean, I carefully chosen, like, especially for the role of because he doesn't speak that much in the film, so I was unexpecting, like, suddenly Jeff to be like super, like, outgoing and extrovert. That was not his role. Was really like an introvert, a clumsy, kind of shy, full of pulsions that he doesn't know how to deal with, but for the character of Albert and Blake, I casted for almost 2 years, because I wanted to have those guys. It was very important for me because they're really leading those dinner scenes, and that to have really guys that are extremely talented in adding their own creativity and ad lib and improv a bit. So that's why I chose them in the first place. So there was lines that were not written, It's and sometimes also because we had Q&As and when we showed the film and they were all there in Berlin and they were it's funny because sometimes I have the impression also that they have the feeling that they improvise more than they actually did, and that's a good thing too, because it's like they kind of forget that that was written. Like for instance, the last dinner scene is very close to the real text. And but the first one is a little bit more free, I would say, and but there's a structure to the scene, of course, and then it's kind of respected and in that sense. It's because I have also like when you call about improv, I'm always like I find it a bit like dangerous word, because it may sound like we do whatever, but it's everybody's been working so much hard, so it's work. It's not like, okay, well, let's improve a scene now, and in that sense.
I wanted to, before opening it up to the audience, I wanted to ask about, thematically, I think it's this idea of old resentments that can't help but kind of bubble up when you bring two people together in this way. Two former collaborators together in this way. I wanted to just hear more from you about the attraction of this subject in particular, because I think that, certainly there's a number of films about complicated friendships, but there's something to these two men and the way that they can't help but wound each other. It's very much on the surface, but it's like they keep needing to feel like they've subsumed it and gotten past it, and clearly they're not very good at doing that. It's just always there, and that's such an interesting, like, rich territory to me. Also, men.
Yeah. I'm being very harsh with men for good reasons. But the thing is, it's interesting because you're that's also like the way you see and interpret the film. And for me, I have a different.
Do tell, yeah.
In a way that for me, I'm not that much interested in their friendship. Actually, I'm more interested in because I really tried in that film in a way. Maybe I failed. I don't know. But to be kind of to show the adults in the perspective of the young people, and the young people in the film, they are expecting them to be role models, to be mentors. And they're absolutely failing into giving anything back that is that has substance. And that's for me like the main thing about, and also the whole story with Jeff and Blake and this triangle, of course, because there's a triangle. So how can you trust an adult? A mentor, if he's chasing the same girls as you, it's a total violation of something that is, it's a territory that shouldn't exist. So I was dealing with those things, and so then the friendship was kind of, I wouldn't say it's accessory, but I was kind of more satirical about them and their for me it was just a way to show that they're kind of vain in a way, and they're struggling for attention and egos, and it's of course it's important in the film. It's also it's not, but it was like it's just it shows that there's a little ego fight, and each one of them as a way to get attention. Maybe Albert is more by being hypochondriac and neurotic and talks and talk about his life, takes the attention, is very transparent, and the other one is more about like having this kind of old-fashioned masculinity, that is and I'm both questioning that, because in a way I wrote the film. Now I'm a new dad for about the last 3 months, and thank you, and I have a little. I have a boy, so it's it's and it's funny because I did the film in the same year, and the film is released actually at the same year, and I was like, for me it was even before the kid was existing. I was like, these characters, these two men, they're not what I want to become as a father or as but it's that's what I don't want to be, and but of course they have their flaws. I have mine, and I'm an hypochondriac, for instance. So there's things in it that are resonating, but it's like I'm kind of trying to exercise the bad aspect or of that kind of masculinity thing, and that was a bit the main intention, and also remembering how I was when I was a young guy seeking for that validation from adults that were older, and it was oftenly disappointing. Because the moment where you really needed help, they were not there, and when I started to want their validation, then suddenly my life started to go very well. So it's so I'm constantly trying to kill fathers.
Questions from the audience? I think we have a mic running around to you. Yeah.
I'm curious about the title. Did it come from a Hebrew prayer?
Yeah, I mean it comes from the first the title was and in French it has nothing to do with the prayer and with of course the song by Leonard Cohen. And then I thought it was just a nice translation to use that to use the Leonard Cohen song. And then for me the Leonard Cohen song, which is also I was aware that it was also like a prayer. I think it's a Yom Kippur a prayer, and I had discussions with the Jewish friends about that, and we were like kind of, for me because I was curious to know what they think about the song and if they have a different perception of the song, and there were so many interpretations that probably mine is good as well. But for me it's about our being vulnerable and being completely the kind of fragility of life. And the fragility of youth in that film, and the fragility of, like, who can we trust also, and can we rely on something bigger than us? Can we rely on it? It's maybe in a way it's related to that quest for answers that are not always there. For me, there's also doubt in expressed in that song. So. And of course, it's death, and it's life, and it's love, and it's and I always loved. I mean, Cohen has always been in the back in my head, and I never used one of his songs in one of my films, but I will one day, because the song that I've been listening the most in my life was "Waiting for the Miracle," and I was a struggling young artist, and I was listening to "Waiting for the Miracle," believing that one day I will be in New York Film Festival, and. And then talking about Leonard Cohen and Waiting for the Miracle at the New York Film Festival. No, but yes, I really like how there's a kind of mysticism around love, desire, erotism. In his songs, in his poems as well, which I think his songs are poems. So I always felt that very, very beautiful, and that quest for beauty, and also but filled with doubts and questioning. So yes, I mean, one day I will put a song, and it's gonna be great. But I thought it was just a nice little homage to him, and of course he's from Montreal, and it's an important figure there, and he's been it's been always. But maybe someday I will have to kill him as well, because we have to kill our idols and our mother. Yeah.
Another question? Yes. The mic will come right to you.
Thank you. Well, I really have two, but one is easy. The music, the score. I'm very curious about how that came about, not just Leonard Cohen referenced, but also did I see the ghost of Ingmar Bergman credited?
Yes, but that's for another reason. I always thank him in my credits, because I saw a manifestation of his ghost one day.
That's very cool.
Not that the audience think I'm completely crazy.
No, I've seen
love
ghosts.
You're going to have to elaborate on that one. Yeah.
But of course the dog is called Ingmar. But yes, and so that's I'm making a bit fun also. Yeah. The music is it's completely so important in my films. It's the point of where everything starts. It starts with a playlist. It starts with music that I listen, and when I'm writing, and I started with this film. It was really like this traditional music that we hear at the beginning and at the end, in the last scene as well. And that was I was really struck by that music when I was writing the film. And for me, one of the most beautiful, pure joy that I have in my life is when I am in the editing suite, and then I'm putting a song that 3 years or 4 years or 5 years before I was imagining on a scene, and then it works, and I have goosebumps, and that's like, wow, that's maybe the reason why I still want to make films. So the music is very important, and I want to do a musical also. That's why I finished the film also with a little song, but it's announcing maybe the next film. But I know the music is important, and I like both extra diegetic music and intra. I mean, for me it's like, so it's something that has been taught, and sometimes you also cannot get the right of a song that you've been imagining, but I'm resilient as a filmmaker because I always have I always have the feeling, the impression that whatever, sometimes you lose an actor that cannot do the film, or you lose a location, or you lose there's a song. For me, I'm being stimulated by those bad news, and I always have the conviction that I found something better, but I will never know the truth, But at least Like
everything.
Yes.
Another question right there in the back.
Yeah. First of all, amazing movie. Did you always envision for the film to kind of go full circle in the sense of starting with the car ride and ending with it going back?
Yes. Yeah, I think it was there. Then between those things, I know that there's a lot of things that are happening, and sometimes the things that are a bit surprising, and sometimes it's I have to admit that I like to take risk, and I'm not looking to make a perfect film when I make films. I'm trying to make films where I'm challenged, and where I'm surprising myself, and because this is what I expect from films I like also, and so I tell a story also differently, and I really love the risk, and and I found the risk interesting, and sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed. Depends really on the perception that the people can have in the audience. But the thing is that there's one thing that I think that is important for me, is that to have this kind of get out of a bit of the kind of structure, the kind of very like classical structure, and I like to. Why not ending the film with a poem, or why not having these things that are happening in the film that are gets us in the forest, and those sometimes unnecessary scenes, I would call them. But the thing is that right now we live in a world where TV is like stealing a lot from cinema. Okay. And they're stealing very good things, good actors, good directors, blah blah blah. They're stealing, sometimes it's they're stealing style, and when they have money, they make it's very cinematic more and more. But the one thing that they cannot steal is actually what makes cinema still alive to me. It's when we are doing mistakes. It's when we are putting unnecessary scenes. It's when we are playing with the structure. It's where we are taking a risk. Because only risk makes an art alive. If we don't take risk, it's completely dead. So at least TV is not going there in that direction, So yes, that's.
One last question.
Hi. I'm curious about the hypermasculinity of the activities in nature as it relates to what you're revealing about the characters and their struggles?
Their activity and their
Hunting.
yeah.
The masculinity of
Yeah,
the
but
activities,
that was because I wanted that Blake to be, of course, this kind of obsolete masculine guy, a mix of Hemingway and John Huston, and mixed with a little bit of French Canadian directors that we had. And and this idea of like being like this man, very manly, and I think that when I was young, I would have been very impressed to see this guy. If I was been 15, I would have been like, even if he says things that mean absolutely nothing, like it's important, to have something to say, you need to feel it here, that means nothing. If I think maybe at 16 years old I would have been clever enough to say like this is bullshit, but the thing is that I was playing with this deconstructing that kind of symbol, and I found it very interesting that this guy who had like kind of a successful life, and now that he's like really believing in that persona, but I don't think that he's gonna do that for a long time as well. I think Blake is going to probably sold a house and go somewhere else and do another kind of trip, or maybe I don't know, go and do yoga. I don't know what, but I think that there was something like kind of a kind of mythology of this kind of man of the woods that has nothing to do with my reality, and I don't even like woods that much. It's like, but it was just this kind of I was kind of that was a nice cinematic start, to have this famous director, legendary, living in like a hermit. And there's a bit of Bergman also in that legend. He wasn't hunting, but he was living on his island, and this very romantic idea of this misanthropic guy, living on his island. And so yes, it was just a nice setting, and of course then I like to deconstruct him and to like, because he gets more and more weak in the film, I think, Blake as well.
Well, thank you. And thank all of you for coming and for sticking around for the
Thank you very
Q&A.
much.
Thank you.